Gentlemen, Mr. Malu, Mr. Prabhakar, do hold on for a couple of moments there because I want to focus on Biocon for just a bit now. Biotechnology company, Biocon, it's announced its April to June quarter results yesterday. The stock today is slightly off, about 1.5% right now on the downside. There was a 5% sequential revenue decline to 576 crore rupees for the June quarter, although on a year-on-year basis, on a year-on-year comparison basis, that's up 30%. And then when you look at the profits also, on a sequential basis, it's declined 19% to 79 crore rupees, while again on a comparison, year-on-year comparison basis, it's actually up 12%. On both counts, slightly lower than the market expectations, but the management may have an explanation for that. Ms. Kiran Mazumdar, who's the CMD at Biocon, she's joining in right now for a quick chat from Bangalore. Ms. Shaw, thanks very much for taking time out and speaking to NDTV Profit. When we go through your results, we noticed that there was traction in all of your segments. I mean, be it the biopharma business or even the branded formulations business, which I think grew about 52% if I'm not wrong. But do explain how come EBITDA margins came up slightly to 23%?
Well, you know, I must explain this because the main impact has been on account of our increased R&D spends. And I think I need to emphasize here and draw attention to the fact that R&D is such an integral part of our value unlocking strategy that these increased R&D spends of about 75% has added actually 16 crores in terms of additional spend on R&D this quarter compared to last fiscal. This itself has had an impact of about 300 basis points on EBITDA margins. But given the fact that R&D is so critical to our value unlocking strategy, I would not be too concerned about that. And I think that's what the market needs to understand. I think we are very pleased with the overall business growth that we have seen across all business verticals, which you had just mentioned a while ago. And in terms of your growth comments, I must, rebut that by saying that this is not a quarter-on-quarter business kind of model, but it has to be looked at in context of year-on-year comparisons.
Sure. Point noted on the year-on-year comparison bit, ma'am. You mentioned that the higher R&D expenditure on a year-on-year comparison basis, but you did mention that perhaps this is not a quarter-on-quarter cycle that you follow or that should be looked at, even though if we look at the 53 crore rupees that you spent last quarter, that represents a little bit of a drop. So I'm sure there's an explanation for that as well.
Please repeat that question. I didn't quite get it.
Sure. Ma'am, when we look at the R&D expenditure that you did in the June quarter, that's up 75% on a year-on-year basis. But you did spend 53 crore rupees, if I'm not wrong, in a Q4. That represents a little bit of a drop, even though you did mention that yours is not a quarter-on-quarter sort of cycle that one should look at. But just a brief mention of that.
Yeah, I think, R&D spends are very linked to the regulatory development path. And if you look at, the R&D spends that have been increasing over time, this is all sort of linked to certain clinical events happening. And for instance, this quarter we declared the glargine positive data that we got from a European phase 1 study. And that has obviously, increased our R&D spend this quarter. Going forward, we are also going to see increased R&D spends because as we advanced in the clinic, as we basically get into phase 3 clinical trials for glargine, you are going to see increased R&D spends. Another impact on EBITDA margins has been the increased import costs of various raw materials and of course increased power costs. Some of these we are obviously addressing through some efficiency initiatives that we have undertaken. But overall, I think we've had a very good performance.
Okay. Ma'am, last quarter when we spoke, you had explained why there is a volatile nature to licensing income. And last quarter we had seen a little bit of a drop there. How much of licensing income have you seen in the quarter gone by?
Well, if you remember last quarter, we actually saw a surge in licensing income of, I think it was about 46 crores, which was on account of the conclusion of the Pfizer deal. This quarter, obviously, the licensing income is much lower. It's around 14 crores pertaining to various miscellaneous licensing kind of earnings. But going forward, that post the Pfizer deal, we are not able to capture the kind of quarter-on-quarter licensing income that we could book. Going forward, we are, setting off any of our research spends against, the retained earnings from Pfizer. So I think the only real licensing income, upsides that you can expect is when we get into some large licensing arrangements.
Okay. Ma'am, now let me come to the achievements, and we'd like to congratulate Biocon on successfully completing that phase 1 study of the biosimilar insulin called Glargine for diabetes, if I'm not pronouncing that drug wrong there. But do give us a sense of what's ahead for this product, as in the timelines as far as the phase 2, phase 3 trials go.
Well, Glargine is the biggest opportunity in our insulin's portfolio. Today, Lantus, which is the innovator brand for insulin Glargine, is a $6 billion, product today, and it's growing, at a very, very predictable and important pace. And I think for us, this is a very, very big opportunity, and this is a very important milestone. Because this now allows us to enter into global phase 3 clinical trials, and this then prepares us to address a market opportunity that can open up, late 2014, early 2015. So this is something which we are really going to focus on. It has a huge value unlocking potential for Biocon, both in terms of licensing and market opportunities.
Right. Quick last word, ma'am, on the CRAMS business. You'd earlier mentioned that going ahead, you expect to see good order flow post the fourth quarter. Has that happened? If you will be able to quantify that growth for us, that will be great.
Well, the CRAMS business is a business that is growing with a steady run rate. I think we're very pleased with the fact that we are clearly the market leaders because of our integrated service offerings. We are seeing some good traction in this area. As you know, we recently announced the Abbott Nutrition deal. We're getting into, several advanced discussions with other similar kind of, research partners, where we hope to actually engage into more of these kind of service offerings, and that should also give us very good sustainable growth going forward in this business.
Right, Ms. Shaw, thanks very much for taking time out to speak to NDTV Profit. Thanks for your time, and we hope to hear good news from the front of Glargine and more going ahead from Biocon. That's Biocon. Stock is trading slightly lower, but then this is a volatile market. We're leaving right now for a short break, wherein the markets are also trading slightly lower. We're taking a short break, and our experts are standing by as well. After the break, we're taking up some more stock queries from our audience.